Howdy, BFlow Bart here, and today's video we're going to be doing episode 2 of Hey Devs, and this is going to be a slightly different variation of that. And what I want to talk about is the Division 2.0 or the Division 2, and I'm just going to call it 2.0 just to kind of keep it simple. And what I'm going to do is, this is going to be the basic thesis of the overall layout of what I think should happen for 2.0, and I will break up other videos to go in more detail so that I'm not completely boring everybody and spinning off on a tangent on one thing or another. So this video is primarily going to be what I think is an overview of what I think we should get for 2.0 and how we should get there. So this is targeted to the developers of the game and is a nice little thing for the average players and the player base to actually think about, make comments on, and make suggestions towards what I'm talking about. And again, this is just my idea and my concept of what should happen with the game. So to start off with is the Division 2.0. What is it? In a nutshell, it's a complete revamp of the entire game. Why do we need it? Well, currently the game is kind of stale. It's turned into, and this kind of jumps ahead into my timeline of events of what I got right now, is we're stuck in a time frame. The whole point of the game was that a super virus was released, and it was released on Black Friday. And our time frame is we're stuck between Black Friday and Christmas. We're in year 2, and it still hasn't become Christmas yet. We're stuck in a timeline. Okay, we've gone from level 1 to level 30. We've gone from gear score 0 to 256. We're in the end game. What is there to do as part of the end game? Run around and keep farming for better pieces of gear? Okay. But we're still stuck in that same timeline. So first off, we need to pick up 2.0 as what's happened after this has taken place. The green poison has been cured. It's over with. We're done. You know, you've got people fighting in the streets. You got dogs just wandering around. You've got corpses that have been in the streets for 2 years now. Yeah, it's time to progress. You know, it's going to involve some effort on the developers to actually clean up the city a little bit. You don't have to change the map. The map is saying the game progression, the timeline, except that needs to be fixed. We need to move on. It's time. Really, it is. Alright, so moving on from that, we know that we need a new timeline. It's a numbers game right now. The game is a complete numbers game. And what I mean by that, okay, you're a level 1, get to level 30, and then you got gear score 0 through 256. And then on top of that, the gear score, if you look at, you've got 6 different types of numbers right here. You've got skill power, toughness, firepower, firearms, stamina, and electronics. But then you have the breakdown. Okay, I want to have final measure, and yes, I agree there should be some build diversity, but you know, RNG wise, I might have had to go through 5, 6, 7 or more of the certain chest piece, or you know, you got to run a certain mask with, you know, a certain backpack and a certain this, and yeah, how many times do you have to get a striker's knee pad before you get one that has stats that you actually like? going along with that, you know, it's all a numbers game. If you don't get just the right weapon with just the right talent on it and just the right enemy armor damage, or just the right this or just the right that, yeah, it's kind of annoying. So what I propose is getting rid of the whole numbers game, going with a more realistic system of abilities versus gear score and leveling. Okay. To go along with that, weapons, and I'm going to touch on this really quickly, is with weapons, first off, the setting is New York. New York is a anti-gun state. Not saying that there's not guns, and yes, civilians can own guns, but anybody who is in the firearms market knows that the M4 that I'm holding right now is damn sure not New York legal. Yeah, do a Google image search for New York AR-15. Yeah, okay. So, with that also, if you want to look at a player as a average person, alright, the average person may either be a really good shot or a really bad shot. Their shooting abilities is an ability. How many people here that view this know anything about medicine? Can you do CPR? Can you start an IV? Yeah, okay. So going with an ability system instead of a level system, if you want to get better with shooting, and if you look at muzzle climb, I'm not going to try to control the muzzle climb whatsoever. Weapon's going to rise. That's just going to happen. Well, if you want to get better with a weapon, you know that you need to shoot shorter bursts to be able to control that muzzle climb. And there's things that you need to do as a shooter to be able to improve your shooting ability. You don't know that when you first start, so you need to gain user ability. So with that, using the ability system, you need to be able to improve yourself and go shoot more things to get better with a gun. Do more first aid to get better at first aid. Things like that. So you go with an ability system versus a level system. It just makes more sense in the long run. Okay? Weapons-wise, okay? Keeping with a small air of realism, you walk around the city streets of New York, maybe a 0.5% of the population of New York have weapons, have availability to have weapons. You have police officers who have weapons. They're semi-automatic only. Only the SWAT teams or special teams would have an automatic weapon. Only the military would have automatic weapons. Perhaps since we have the LMB running around our city, that they may have come in with a few select automatic weapons. So yeah, I would say get rid of automatic weapons in general, and we're going to not focus a whole lot on weapons. I'll have a different video just on the weapons. So go with a more realistic system of weapons of what would normally and realistically be available based on the area that you're in. In New York, weapons would actually be more scarce, and you would be stuck with more melee, like knives, baseball bats. You have a better chance of finding a bow and arrow than you would any kind of AR-15, much less an M4, an automatic weapon. So we're going to move on to factions. Okay, there's multiple factions around the city. You know, you got your Rikers, your Rioters, your normal civilians, your JTF, your LMB, your division. You have all these different factions running around. Why should you be locked to being a division agent only? You shouldn't. What if, whenever you create your character, you walk out into the city, you're just Joe Schmo. You know, you're Beefalo Bar. You walk out in the city, and I really feel like being a douchebag today. So I'm going to go around and I'm going to shoot a civilian. I'm going to rob a civilian, or I want to be an LMB and, you know, seize control of a sector, or I want to be JTF. I want to remove bad guys from the area, or I want to be whatever. Giving the player the choice to actually join factions or to remain neutral is, to me, I think, an important thing here. It opens up a lot more possibilities for the flow of the game and what you can do with the game, instead of being an agent only. And I'll go into, like I said, each of these different things will have its own separate video where I can elaborate more on them, because I don't want to get carried away in talking about in depth too much. But have the ability to join a different faction or to behave differently. Next thing is the Dark Zone. Quick topic on that. The Dark Zone should go away. No more Dark Zone. The virus is gone and the city has been cleaned up. There's no corpses laying around the streets anymore. Yes, we still have bad factions everywhere. That's fine. But the sole purpose of what the DZ was designed as has not been utilized. If you go into the Dark Zone now, the NPCs that are running around are more of an annoyance than anything else, because what typically happens is it's player versus player combat. You have rogue agents who will camp out near checkpoints, and as soon as you walk out there, you're getting gang beat up on and just beat down. You can't even get out into the Dark Zone to do anything. So therefore you end up having to go to a completely different checkpoint and trying to go in there to try to do something else, or you got just too much focus on PvP in the Dark Zone, and it's unorganized combat and it's not fun. It's only fun for small amounts of time, and the general douchebaggery of the average player that goes in there just to ruin other players' experience is just that. It ruins the experience for other players. Instead of catering to the average douchebaggery, it should be frowned upon and it should be penalized instead of rewarded. Yeah, that's a whole different topic, but get rid of the Dark Zone, open up the entire map, and you can then create more mission-based structure. And yes, there needs to be player versus player. PvP combat needs to happen, but it needs to be more organized. Seriously, I am trying to talk. So, the PvP system would be more organized, and it would be Last Stand, 4 versus 4, all the different stuff that we'll talk about in a different video on player versus player. You have to have PvP. If you don't have PvP, a game is going to die. But if you don't have good PvE content, then you're also going to lose out. So you're going to get rid of the Dark Zone. 2.0 is going to be more focused on the casual gamer and more focused on player versus player separately while still at the same time. PvP content. You right now have the Last Stand, Survival, and you have the Dark Zone. With the Dark Zone and my idea going away, the upcoming 1.8 talks about having a 4 versus 4 combat mode, a PvP mode. Great. That gives a lot more choice in organized PvP. Whereas Last Stand is essentially one basic mode of PvP. The whole idea of the change is adding more PvP content like Last Stand and the PvE version or PvP version of Survival. Bring in more game modes on PvP, and I'll discuss that separately in a separate video. Okay. The next thing is your character. When we progress from 1.7 to 1.8 to 1.9 to 2.0, whenever 2.0 hits, there needs to be a transition building up to that point, and then as soon as 2.0 is released as a free content to players, then there is a global server wipe. All your characters are deleted. All of your stash, all of your inventory, everything gone. Yeah, mull that one over for just a moment. Think about the survival. When you create or you go into a game of survival, you start off, you are a level 30, so there is no level system in survival. The entire game turns into survival mode in essence. However, the one thing I would say is in survival mode versus the global survival mode is in the global survival mode, or the new 2.0 PvE content, temperature wouldn't play that much of a role because there needs to be a progression of seasons. Yes, there should be a winter and there should be a summer. So get rid of the weather, get rid of the virus, get rid of the infection, that kind of stuff. But go with that style progression. If you want different things, you can go into a crafting system and that forth. But think of survival mode without the temperature and without the virus. And that's how the entire map should be for everybody. Everybody starts off on the same level with a basic handgun, or, you know, I would say don't even start with a handgun. But simplistically, let's say, okay, you can manage to find a handgun somewhere around the city. So players start off, you have a basic handgun, and it could be the Beretta M9, it could be a Glock, it could be a SIG, whatever. You just start off with a simple pistol, and that's it. If you want better gear, you need to go find it. You want better pistols, rifles, shotguns, you need to go get them. You want body armor, go find it. I don't think you should be able to craft your own body armor. Who has their own Kevlar and plates and this and that and everything else? Who has that ability to make their own armor? Okay, whatever. So again, developers, think of the survival and make the entire map that way. Player versus player needs to be more organized and get rid of the dark zone completely. Do a complete character wipe, clean the whole entire server. Everybody starts off on an even keel, and yeah. Now, how do you get the money? Where does the money come from? All right, developers, you know that you need to get paid. You need to get income, and if you're not getting money, then you can't create new content, you can't pay your staff. So that brings in product placement. And I have a whole different idea on the weapon systems and so forth. But I'm going to use this M4 as a prime example right here for what I'm talking about. This is what we normally see as the lightweight M4 in game. I'm going to call out some specific name brands of products that I see on this. Starting with the suppressor. This is a Silencer Co. brand product. It is the Omega suppressor. It is a damn good suppressor. Sold a few of them. They're a great product. But it is the Silencer Co. Omega. Or it could be a different variation of it. I've been out of the thing for a few months now. But essentially this is a Silencer Co. suppressor. Alright. These sights right here. These iron sights. Here and here. These are Magpul M-Bus. It is a commonly found product. It costs you about $38 to roughly $40 or less for the front sight, and around $55 for the rear sight. Alright, this optic right here is, I believe, called the Elcan. Not a very common optic found around the streets. There are some out there, but not very common, but okay. The hand grip, I'm not familiar with this particular brand, but we're going to assume that it could be the Magpul product line of the Magpul hand stop, which would be broken up in smaller segments. Okay, this is a Magpul grip. It's a MOE, Magpul original equipment. Okay, this magazine, this is a high capacity magazine. This is a Surefire brand magazine. Okay, this buttstock, that's a Beator buttstock. Could also be an SOP mod from another rival company. There's a number of companies that actually make it very similar to that. This handguard is a Troy Alpha Rail a standard generation of Troy Alpha Rail. It's not M-LOK, it's not Keymod. It is a standard, standard rail. All right, these are commercial products. Now, my idea for this is to, if you want to have Magpul, it's kind of hard. You can't really see anything branding wise on these weapons, but if you got Magpul into this, think of we want to use the Magpul product line. Magpul should kick in a little bit of money for development and should help by supplying some of the models for the products. What if you want to have the Magpul product? You actually have to go to the in-game store and buy a Magpul product, or Vieltor, or Troy, or Silencer Co., what have you. Let the manufacturers kick in a few bucks here and there. And if they do kick in a few bucks, then you could put Silencer Co.'s name on this suppressor. You could put Magpul's name on your accessories. Surefire on your magazine. Loophole or Weaver or what have you. Let the manufacturers kick in for that, for the weapons. Same thing for clothing lines. What about looking over here, fancy a scoop? Why not have major advertisers come in? And what if you're wandering around the street and you see a billboard? And a billboard could be for an actual company with actual advertising. Okay? Whenever you... God, I hate people. Whenever you're... We'll say like this, your consumables. Soda. Okay. Great. I don't have any sodas on me right now, but what if I want to go over to a vendor or a vending machine and buy a soda? Why couldn't it say Mountain Dew on the side, or Coca-Cola, or Pepsi, or have an actual actual company's branding on the product? I'm sure Coca-Cola will kick in a few bucks, or Mountain Dew specifically. They gear a lot towards gamer fuel and all the different product lines of that. Why not have them kick in the currency for it? So we'll skip on past that, and it's all about product placement and in-game advertising that'll help generate the revenue for making the game profitable. Alright, so I've droned on quite a bit, and what I'll do is I'll leave this video at this, and we'll actually start covering more in-depth detail. In fact, the next video I'm going to do is going to be titled something to the effect of 2.0 weapons. I'll discuss the aspects of the weaponry, the realism, the types of weapons, the fire modes, and go into the in-depth on firearms. So for now, we'll leave it at this, and I'll create more videos based on what I think we should see in 2.0. And please feel free to make any comments, preferably positive ones. Thumbs up, thumbs down, subscribe, but definitely leave some comments, and definitely at least give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. But I'd like to hear your comments on what you think we should see and what you think of the ideas that I have along the way for 2.0. Alright, thank you, and we'll see you in the next video.